Make your own composite resin onlay is an alternative to optimize the materials you already have in the office and speed up the process, as you won't depend on third parties. The first step for sculpting the onlay is to isolate the plaster cast using a plaster resin separator. If you want to see how I made this cast, click on the card to watch this step-by-step guide. Apply this separator to the entire prepared tooth and on the adjacent teeth. Allow it to dry and mark the finish line of the preparation with a water-soluble pencil. Pass the pencil flat along the entire extension of the marginal finishing line. This mark will facilitate its visualization and will be impregnated in the restoration, showing its outer limits. Use gloves to handle the composite resin, but clean them with alcohol to remove talcum powder residues, which can interfere with the composite resin composition. Next, select the resin to be used for the onlay fabrication. Prefer nanohybrid or microhybrid composite resins as they provide good mechanical strength to withstand masticatory forces. Regarding the color choice, if the tooth has an altered substrate, such as heavily discolored teeth, the color selection should be made on the actual tooth. When the tooth has no color alteration and falls within the B1 to A3 range, you can fabricate the onlay using only enamel-colored O1 composite resin. Enamel resin is semi-translucent and allows a bit of the underlying dentin color to show through. Thus, the final color composition will be the dentin color of the tooth itself plus the A01 color of the enamel resin. Now, start the onlay fabrication by applying a thin layer of composite resin to the bottom of the cavity. This base is important to create a uniform interface between the onlay and the tooth. Cure this increment for 20 seconds. In the next step, shape the external contour of the tooth, in this case, by constructing the mesial face. Don't worry about using the incremental technique, as polymerization shrinkage will occur over the cast and will not affect the tooth. Therefore, you can use a large increment of composite resin and sculpt the entire mesial face of the tooth. The onlay's cusp should have the same height as the cusp of the tooth. The same applies to the height of the marginal ridge. Sculpt the marginal ridge by dividing the mesial face into two slopes that form the vestibular cusp and lingual cusp. Apply a little of composite modeling resin to a flat brush and use it to adapt the composite to the die marginal finishing line. Try the die on the plater cast and make adjustments to ensure the contact point is appropriate. Take the opportunity to verify if the cusp is at the same height as the adjacent teeth cusps. Also, check the alignment between the cusps of the adjacent teeth. Cure this increment for 20 seconds. Finish the onlay sculpture, making its occlusal surface. Apply a single layer of composite resin across the occlusal surface and condense it well. Use a condenser spatula to remove composite excess from the occlusal surface of the tooth. Place the spatula on the sculpted cusp and tilt it towards the bottom of the main groove. Remove all composite excess from the cusps, otherwise, it may interfere with the occlusion of the tooth. You should have something like this, where the composite is not in excess, and a valley should form between the posterior teeth. And smooth the composite, using the flat brush with modeling resin. Next, outline the main groove. The first lower molar has this main groove design that separates it into 5 cusps. Use the pointed end of an SD2 spatula or the tip of an Explorer probe to create this design. Follow the guidelines of the vestibular and lingual grooves to delineate the position of the grooves. And if you want to learn more about posterior tooth sculpting in composite resin, access the link I'll leave in the description of this video. Use a condenser spatula to incline the cusp slopes. Press each side of cusp with the condenser to make the sides concave and the center elevated, so edges will be formed. If you want to create characterizations in these grooves, apply a bit of brown resin pigment, using the tip of an Explorer probe or the needle tip of an SD2 spatula. Apply the pigment to the central fossa and spread it to the sides. To smooth out the pigment effect, use a disposable brush to remove excess and soften the openings of the grooves. Light cure this increment for 20 seconds. Remove the die from the model and light cure it for an additional 40 seconds on all surfaces of the onlay. After completing the photo activation, remove the onlay from the die by gently forcing it with a blunt-tipped instrument. Make the finishing by removing any composite resin burrs with a sanding disc. Check if the onlay is well adapted to the die and if the excess removal has not affected its edges. If everything is fine, continue polishing by applying polishing rubbers. Give it shine using a silicon carbide brush. Finally, remove any polishing residues with a felt disc or clean goat hair. Thus, we conclude the onlay fabrication. If you enjoyed this content, feel free to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. Thank you for watching until the end, and see you in the next video.